All right. Well, this is our local author, Shawn, and he is here today to let us interview him, and he's going to tell us about his new book. Would you like to tell us about your new book, Shawn?
Well, this is my first book. It's Mirage Dream. I certainly hope it's not going to be my swan song because I've got other works in the mix. But I came up with the concept of it around it was Christmas Eve of 2018. I was relaxing. I was listening to some music and listened to a considerable amount of music on YouTube. But I was having some Heinemann's Sweet Catawba wine, and I was just thinking about some past artists that I've always enjoyed. I was thinking in particular of a concert that I attended on, oddly enough, I remember the date. It was April the 10th of 1999. I saw the Electric Light Orchestra Part 2 at the Stranahan, and I was thinking of one of the members of the band, Eric Troyer in particular, and so I just wanted to see if he did anything solo, and I came across his song Mirage. I got to listening to it, and I was thinking, this is not a bad idea. And while I was thinking of it, I was also thinking of a author that I'm a huge fan of. Actually, the guy has become a working partner of mine. He's my editor, Brian Paoni. Uh, his first book that gripped me was rock fiction. It's entitled Yours Truly 2095, which is also the same name as a Electric Light Orchestra song, and just everything just started falling into place. I started my first draft New Year's Day of 2019, and I work full time at the DHL there in Findlay. At the time, I was a case picker, and between running pallets and picking items, Mirage Dream was just formulating on, and I sought out Brian Paoni, which is the author of Yours Truly 2095 and a large array of other books, great books in fact, and kept in communication with him, and he provides editing services, and he's been a fantastic mentor. He guided me and ushered me through the whole process, and I submitted my initial draft of my MS, that's what they call it, and I made some mistakes, which he corrected me on. I told Brian first, I said how many pages it was, and he says, you might want to avoid that, that's kind of amateurish, so I gave him a word count, and like I said, it's been a learning curve the whole way, but he was, as I said, he was really kind to me. He guided me through the whole process, through his editing process, through formatting it, to the cover art, to purchasing the ISBN numbers, which are these identifiers, through going through Ingram Spark as far as submitting the finished product for distribution. So it's been great, and what really inspired me to do it was I've always enjoyed reading, and as a student growing up through K through 12, I always enjoyed English class, and I even enjoyed it when I was attending Terra State Community College, where I earned my Associate of Applied Science. But I wanted to just see if it could be done. And as a young age, I remember growing up in Bloomdale when my mother and I would take trips once a week to the local library there when Bloomdale had a library. I was a real big fan of TV as a child, and I remember it was my mother that first explained to me that most of the movies and TV shows that I like were, somebody had to write that. And some of the movies that we had watched, growing up, that they started off as books. And I remember, I'm probably going to say the title of it wrong, but when I was a kid, we watched The Secret of Nim. And then my mom was the one that showed me, and this is where I'm going to screw up the title, but she pointed out that it was Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim, if I'm remembering that correctly.
Nice.
So and also through her, I learned that, books and film media can really deviate from time to time. I learned at a young age too that the Walt Disney version of the Pinocchio film was quite different from the original novelization. I'm not saying one media is superior to the other or one's inferior or likewise, but it was with thinking back to my youth with the thoughts of um, most of the television shows that I like were, inspired by books or novellas, novelizations, or, even how books differ from film to actual print is just, it's something that just, I always thought it was astonishing. So I've had some deep rooted inspiration of wanting to write and create.
Cool. Good, yeah. Do you consider future readers while you're writing your stories?
Yeah, so far, my, as far as what I've sold the most has been coworkers, and they've given me some suggestions. They found some characters in my book to be rather loathsome, and they've shared the experience with some of the other characters, and they've given me feedback, and I've assured them that, oh, it's good that you don't like that person because, well, just, sit back, relax. You'll see that they'll something satisfying will happen to them.
Mm-hmm.
Do you base your characters off of anyone in real life that you've come across, or
No,
no?
and I've gotten that. I've gotten that question a lot because, as I've aforementioned, most of the people that have purchased Mirage Dream have been coworkers because I've been saying, "Hey, I've got a book out there," and
Yeah.
I've been plugging it largely at work. But no, most people when they read Nick, they've told me they see me or they see a younger me, and it's like, no, it's not. But
Yeah.
no, it's just I've just created these people.
Well, that's great. Do you want to give us a little summary of what your story contains, or do you want to leave it for the readers to figure
Well,
out themselves?
I wrote a blurb on the back, but it's Nick Benelli, and I did arrive at his name from a couple of musicians because I am a musician, a multi instrumentalist, but a master of none. Um, I have played in my youth in some garage bands. I've dabbled with some bands, so I suppose if some people were wondering, the aspect of Nick being a pianist and a bassist, I am one in real life, and as I said, I've studied music, so there are some sections in here where a person could get a little music theory without having it too preachy or crammed down their neck. I talk a little bit about key signatures, chord structures, chord inversions, and I use that because I use the key of D flat major, and I cite some pieces of music like the Beach Boys' "Caroline No" was in D flat major, and I'm probably going to slaughter this guy's name, but it was a song I dabbled with during my youth in piano lessons. It was by Claude Debussy. And if I'm not saying that right, somebody can feel free to correct
I
me.
think that's correct.
But the way that the sheet music that I received and I played it as, it was in D flat major as well. So I apply a little bit of music theory, but like I said, it's not like reading a Hal Leonard book or anything. Well, I just try to do that to give the reader a little bit of insight.
I started the book. I haven't gotten very far, but I thought the musical edition made it seem more authentic. So
Thank you.
thought that was a
I
good
appreciate
job.
that.
Yeah.
And he is a straight truck driver by trade. Back in 2005, I went to Train Co., which is up off Oregon Road, kind of the Perrysburg area. It's when you get up to around Toledo, everybody just considers everything Toledo. But I did earn my Class A CDL, and a couple years ago I took another road test for passenger and school bus. So I talk a little bit about the functioning parts of commercial motor vehicles. So I mean, if somebody from out of state reads this, different state regulations might be different, but some of the working physical components. But as I said, I did that for authenticity, so I guess you could say I sort of played it safe by writing what I knew. But if you are writing something and you don't know, I mean, try not to be arbitrary and guess. I mean, research it, but
Exactly.
As I said, going back to Brian Paoni, my editor is a retired police officer. His wife's a naval officer, so I don't want to say the wrong school, institute, or university, but in communication with him, he even taught at a university or an establishment of higher learning. I don't recall which one, but there were some times where I might have went a little off kilter, and he was pretty polite about it, but he reminded me like, that's not really feasible, that's not working. So it's I was blessed with finding Brian Paoni and having a great editor, but I guess writing about what you know kind of keeps you in a safe place.
Sure.
Great. Now, does your second book you're writing, is it the sequel to the Mirage Dream, or is this a different subject?
Well, I found that writers are creatures of habit. Like I said, I'm a large Stephen King fan, but I'm really starting to lean towards Brian Paoni being my favorite author, probably because of common interest. He wrote a book that was inspired by the Electric Light Orchestra. That's my favorite band. But no, writers are creatures of habit that I found. Stephen King, you'll find that his work is largely set in Maine, and Derry, Maine in particular, that's a reoccurring theme. But no, what I've done is, and to get to your question, I've created a kind of a faux-hio, instead of an Ohio, a faux-hio. I've taken some towns and some areas. I mean, people might find it kind of comical, but Pemberville and Lucky, I just blended the two and got Pemke. Gibsonburg and Woodville, Gibbswood, they're both kind of close to each other in the Sandusky County. But no, what I'm planning on, and I'll even disclose what my working title of it is What Lies Beyond the Hollow Grove. The events of that, it's not so much a sequel to Mirage Dream, but the events of What Lies Beyond the Hollow Grove, the events of that in my first project, Mirage Dream, they run concurrently. So what's happening in this one is what's also happening with.
Interesting.
So I had to be really careful, and I had to because this was the first copy of my book that I got, so I had to reference it and go back, and if I said one thing, and I deliberately left things up for interpretation, because one of my characters that people love to hate, they absolutely love her, but it's because they hate her, Desiree, I've left up for interpretation some things, and I left some doors open, but I deliberately did that because this book for me was kind of a basis. It was just kind of a foundation, but I'm not just going to be stuck in the same vein of just spinning off or having stories incorporated this. But no, with this book, I've established my universe. It's, instead of Stephen King's Maine, it's S.E. Van Meter's Faux-Hio, which is just kind of a play on words for Ohio.
Cool.
So.
All right. Well, I think that's great. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I figured we could segue into this because we're talking about it. Going on with my next planned project, and as I said, my working title for it is What Lies Beyond the Hollow Grove. I'll begin the editing process, sending that to my editor around the 1st of October, and then I'm hoping for maybe a mid to late winter, early spring release for that one. But I just I hope everybody enjoys Mirage Dream, and to be humble, it's my first book, so it's my first attempt. So hope people use kid gloves on me.
That's great. Well, it'll be the book is available at the North Baltimore Public Library, so people can come in and request that, and hopefully we'll be getting more copies soon. So thank you for talking with us.
I appreciate you having me.